In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, shrouded by ancient, gnarled trees and perpetually cloaked in mist, stood the decaying Ashcroft Lodge. Built over a century ago, it had long been abandoned, its windows dark and empty, the walls whispering secrets of a cursed past. Stories of disappearances and madness surrounded the lodge, casting a dark shadow over the nearby town of Black Hollow. Edward Harmon, a modern-day paranormal investigator, was drawn to the lodge by its sinister reputation. Armed with the latest ghost hunting equipment and an insatiable thirst for uncovering the truth, he ventured into the heart of the mountains. The locals warned him, speaking in hushed tones about the lodge's dark history, but Harmon was undeterred. He had faced down spirits before, and he believed this would be no different. As Harmon approached the lodge, an unnatural chill settled over him. The air was thick with the smell of damp decay, and the trees seemed to close in around him, their twisted branches resembling skeletal hands. The front door creaked ominously as he pushed it open, revealing a grand but decaying interior. Dust motes danced in the weak sunlight that filtered through the grime-covered windows, casting eerie patterns on the floor. He began his investigation, setting up cameras and motion sensors in the main hall. Night fell quickly in the mountains, and soon the lodge was enveloped in darkness. Harmon switched to night vision, the green glow of his equipment the only source of light. He called out, his voice echoing through the empty halls. "Is anyone here? Show yourself." Hours passed, and the only sounds were the creaks and groans of the old building. Just as Harmon was beginning to think the stories were nothing more than local superstition, a sudden thud echoed from the basement. Heart pounding, he made his way down the narrow, winding stairs, the air growing colder with each step. In the basement, he found a hidden room, its entrance concealed behind a rotting bookshelf. Inside, the walls were covered in strange, arcane symbols that seemed to writhe and pulse in the green light. In the center of the room stood an ancient, ornate chest. As Harmon approached, a feeling of intense dread washed over him, but he couldn't turn back now. He opened the chest, revealing an obsidian amulet that seemed to absorb all light. The moment he touched it, a bone-chilling wind swept through the room, and the basement door slammed shut. The temperature plummeted, and Harmon saw his breath clouding in front of him. His equipment started to malfunction, the screens flickering with static. Suddenly, the room was filled with whispers, low, guttural voices speaking in a language he couldn't understand. Shadows began to coalesce in the corners, taking on vaguely human forms. Harmon backed away, but the shadows moved closer, their features becoming more defined. He could see their hollow eyes and gaping mouths, could feel their icy breath on his skin. Panic surged through him as he realized these were the spirits of those who had vanished over the years, trapped between worlds by the power of the amulet. Their expressions were twisted in agony, and their whispers grew louder, more insistent. Harmon tried to flee, but the shadows closed in, their cold hands grasping at him, pulling him down. In his final moments, as the darkness consumed him, Harmon understood the true nature of Ashcroft Lodge. It wasn't just a haunted house. It was a gateway, a prison for malevolent entities that fed on fear and despair. The amulet was the key, and he had unwittingly unleashed its power. When the authorities found him the next day, Harmon was barely recognizable. His hair had turned white, and his eyes were wide open, staring into nothingness. He was alive, but his mind was shattered, trapped forever in the nightmare realm he had discovered. The lodge remains abandoned, a looming specter over Black Hollow. The locals continue to tell their tales, warning all who would listen to stay away. At night, they say, you can still hear the whispers and see the flickering shadows of those who are lost, forever bound to the darkness within Ashcroft Lodge.